Senator Bradley and ranking members Green and Champagne, thank you so much to the committee for giving us some time here. I have a number of bills before your committee at this point, and I appreciate the fact that we have this opportunity to speak on. There's 5 current bills that I have within the committee, so I'll try to keep this as brief as I possibly can. Bill 5179 came over from Energy and Technology. I'd submitted into technology side of it, but it really matches up with 5078. They're a little bit duplicative of each other, but they basically refer to using GIS tracking systems for firefighters, first responders, police, ambulance, everyone. When there's a house that's been known to have drug traffic issues, sometimes known as a trap house, and those are very important for us to know. As a first responder walking in the door, you want to know that there's a history there. So that tracking needs to be done between fire, police, ambulance. If there had been a police call there 2 days prior, and now it's a fire call, that's something you want to certainly be aware of and address as you go in. The other is 5162, the mental health partnership, and for addiction services. That, again, I've said this 100 times on the floor or in committee, that mental health needs more attention in this state, and it's certainly something we need to address. 5722 is the firefighter stipend relief. Basically, volunteer firefighters are the lifeblood of the firefighter community in a lot of these, in a lot of our townships. I know in my community especially, it's 100% volunteer, and the amount of money that saves the community is tremendous. And these firefighters give a tremendous amount of time, training, cleaning, responding to the calls, and then when they get their stipend, that stipend gets hit with a tax. That should be left alone. That should be provided for the firefighter. And the last one on my list is 5145. Just because we want to have a lot here, I can't believe there's 5 bills on this one here. And 5145 is regarding smoke bombs. And while some think this is a smaller piece of legislation or a questionable piece of legislation, I've had tremendous calls with regulating agencies within the state. Within the state.
Could I ask? Thank you.
Thank you. I've talked to people who are members whose desk it comes across for special effects. They oversee the licensing and the permitting. And really what this bill wants to do with their agreement and working with them is to change the regulation a bit. So we don't want to have it so difficult for people to, for photographers, video work, as well as entertainment, like Hartford Athletic, for example, to be able to have that opportunity to have smoke, which from what I've seen and what I've read and what I will be providing to you more so, aside from the 5 bills written testimony I've submitted, is the safety of the smoke devices, that they're safer really than a sparkler. So that's the overlying. Again, I put a lot of it into the writing of it, but I'm sure there's some questions on each of these bills, and I'm happy to address each one, Representative. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Yes, you covered a great deal of territory there and spoke very fast. My credit to you for that. I wanted to actually just ask about, I have heard great things about a lot of work going on in New Milford with respect to, mental health and opioids and how, that may be a model that we want to look at. And I wonder whether you could just comment a little bit more about that.
I would love to. That's something I love to speak on. We're very proud of that work. And you'll hear some later on today. I forget where he was down the list, but Tony Morrissey is on there. Tony has spoken before committee last year. We had a lot of it right to the finish line last year before COVID hit. So there's a lot of things we can do. But yeah, we've taken a different approach in New Milford with opioids on the police side and on the individual side. A lot of times people treat addiction and addiction services with a broad brush. A lot of times it was, if you came in, for example, right now, if you come into the Milford Police Department and you have heroin on you, you won't be arrested. You'll be given help. We'll collect the product. We will give you the assistance. And it's not just, a lot of times what happens with people is they're given a phone number. Hey, call these guys. Call somebody here. They'll give you help and take care. Good luck. And we have now, what you've seen in another piece of legislation now for today, is the high-risk navigator position, who Justin Comer has done an amazing job in the town of New Milford in working with individuals. So we don't treat the addiction, we treat the individual, which is a drastic difference in helping someone overcome their addiction, helping them get a job, helping them find a home. Our homeless population has dropped significantly in the town of Milford in the last year and a half, 2 years, because of the work of Justin Comer and being that high-risk navigator. He works out of the police station, but he's not a police officer. And he does an amazing job. And I think we need a Justin really in every community across the state. But that's been the biggest part, is dealing with the individual and helping that person get through what they need, and not just, okay, great, you've been clean for a month. Justin's still there. Justin's still holding your hand and wants to help you through this process. So that's a critical piece of working with individuals. And I think the GIS tracking will help that significantly. There is some federal funding for that coming up now. And certainly as we get to that step of the legislation that we brought forward in that position, there's more to discuss there too. But we're trying to provide solutions in New Milford as opposed to just recognizing the problem, because that's the biggest concern we all have. Everyone here knows there's a problem. The question is, how do we address it? So we've taken some steps already. We've had some luck with our friends working in Western Connecticut over in Danbury. The Danbury Coalition of Legislators has been very involved. It's appreciated.
Thank you, Representative. I look forward to those, to having further conversations about that. Representative Ollie Brennan.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Buckbee, for championing all these bills. It's nice to see you. And I know I appreciate working with the Morrissey family as well with you. I just wanted to kind of push a little bit more into 5179, which is the task force to study the use of global positioning systems. I understand in New Milford, they use this system called OD Maps. It's a software that's available to municipalities. And is this free to municipalities?
Great question. I'm not sure currently. I know Tony Morrissey, who you mentioned, and by the way, good to see you too, Representative. Good to see you for a change, if only I'm here. I'm not sure if it is. I know that Tony helped develop that software, and I believe we were offering it that way, but there is a cost to building it, to running it. But yes, currently it is free for now, and I hope it stays that way.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know this is going to be very important in tracking overdose calls, locations, outcomes, utilize the data to identify hotspots. And I don't think anyone can disagree with the importance of that and the power and connection. And I think, when we think about why bring this here, I don't think we have the time to go town by town and advocate for this software. We're a bit behind on catching up on these overdoses. And we know that there's two epidemics going on right now. There's the COVID one and the opiate epidemic. And this COVID epidemic has exacerbated the opiate one. And so it's time we need to act. And I appreciate you bringing this bill forward. I think it's important. And I will be supporting that. The other one, I'm just interested in this smoke bomb stuff, because who isn't interested in smoke bombs? But I guess, can you just elaborate more on what's the necessity for a separate license?
I appreciate that. And to finalize on the other piece of it, there is some federal funding coming down on GIS. There was last year as well, that might be able to help us spread that a little bit better as well. And certainly addressing both pandemics is critical, and this really should not disappear. And hopefully Tony will bring some more to the table when he gets to speak to you as well. Lovely family of Morrisseys. As far as the need for it, right now, if you want to have a smoke bomb for a gender reveal, or for a bridal photo shoot, or again, the Hartford Athletic, let's say one of those three you want to do, you have to get a licensing that costs, I believe it's like $200 every 3 years to be relicensed, and then a $100 permit the day of that you use. So that's $300 out the door before you even start, before you buy it, before somebody hires you to go do it somewhere. It's a costly process, and I think it's kind of overregulated when you look at it as think of it like a driver's license, right? So they're telling you basically right now, the state's saying you need to have a CDL license to drive a golf cart. That's kind of what we're at. It's a very simple process, and we can bring that down and still regulate it and monitor that. So if let's say this is the discussion I've had, because the bill is very, very broad, and I'd like to write that with those individuals who are the regulatory agencies, and they've agreed that they love to sit in with us and write this properly. So instead of a $200 fee, maybe it's like a boat license. You pay $25, you have your license, it's good for life, you understand the rules. And then very similar to an open burn permit. Now, some of the people in the cities might think I'm nuts here, but out in the country, we have open burn permits. So if someone wants to have an open burn, you have to call the fire marshal's office that day, make sure it's a good day to be able to do that. The winds aren't too high, it's not too dry, and let them know what you're using. Let them know what that device is. That way the fire marshal knows what that is and they can track it. And I think if we can reduce the regulation on this, it can make both sides very happy. So we can have the fun and the smoke, but do it very safely and regulated by the state. So we know those people who are handling the product are trained to handle the product, but they don't need to be regulated to the same degree as someone who shoots off fireworks at Yard Stadium, right? It's a very different thing.
Who knew?
You learn as you go. People reach out, and that's how we learn, right?
Yes, I appreciate it. Those are all my questions. Thank you, Representative Buckbee, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative. Oh, the things we learn in this job. Any further questions for Representative Buckbee? Seeing none, I thank you for being with us. I thank you for all of your work, particularly on the mental health and opioid issue, and look forward to working on that as the community moves forward. Thanks very much.
I do as well. Thank you.